Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second in our digital series, Indonesia's New Energy Paradigm, a series brought to you by Enlit Asia, our partner MKI, and sponsored by PLN. Today, we have an excellent episode for you, brought to you by S2P, examining the question, how can coal-fired generation remain relevant in a changing energy landscape? We'll begin with a 20-minute interview with PLN's Director of Primary Energy, Pak Rudi Hendra Prastowo, before we move on to a live panel discussion featuring representatives from PLN, Adaro Power, Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems, our partner MKI, and moderated by IHS Markit. While the interview is pre-recorded, the panel discussion is live. We want to make this as interactive as possible. We encourage you to ask questions by typing in the box on the right-hand side of your screen, labeled Ask Staff a Question. We'd like to respond to as many as we can. However, if we don't get around to responding to your question, and we'll make every effort to address as many as we can throughout the show. Before we begin the interview, just briefly in the handout section on the right-hand side of your screen, you will find some more information about our digital series and how you can be involved. We'll now move on to the interview with Pak Rudi. The interview will play after a short video by our series sponsor PLN. After the interview, Alan Wang, Director of Power and Renewables for IHS Markit, will begin the panel.
DKI Jakarta dan sekitarnya memerlukan pelayanan energi listrik dengan kurva beban harian kurang lebih 6.500 MW pada malam hari dan sekitar 7.300 MW pada siang hari. Untuk memenuhi kebutuhan, pasokan listrik ke subsistem dibebankan kepada beberapa gardu induk dan pembangkit listrik. PLTU Lontar adalah salah satu pemasok utama kelistrikan Jakarta, Banten, dan sekitarnya. Saat ini, PLTU Lontar di Desa Lontar memiliki 3 unit pembangkit berkapasitas masing-masing 315 MW, sehingga total kapasitas mencapai 945 MW. PLN akan melakukan penambahan kapasitas listrik dengan menambah pembangunan PLTU Lontar. Memperkuat pasokan tenaga listrik di area Banten dan juga Jakarta dan sekitarnya pada sistem kelistrikan Jawa Bali sebesar 1 kali 315 MW melalui salah satu dari 3 subsistem, yaitu subsistem Balaraja, subsistem Kembangan, subsistem Muara Karang Gandul. Proyek ini dijalankan oleh konsorsium yang terdiri atas Sumitomo Corporation, Black & Veatch International Company, dan PT Satya Mitra Surya Perkasa dengan menggunakan teknologi boiler superkritikal yang ramah lingkungan karena akan menghasilkan pembakaran batubara yang lebih sempurna dan tingkat kandungan emisi yang lebih rendah dari teknologi yang digunakan sebelumnya. Ditargetkan selesai dalam 42 bulan, sehingga pada September 2019 diharapkan sudah bisa beroperasi. Penambahan kapasitas ini diharapkan dapat menampung tambahan pelanggan sebanyak 206.000 pelanggan. Ini berarti dapat menambah energi jual sebesar 2,2 terawatt-hours dan menambah pendapatan sebesar 2,96 triliun rupiah bagi PLN. Di sisi lain, pembangunan PLTU Lontar ini diperkirakan dapat menyerap tenaga kerja hingga 3.000 orang, sehingga memberikan dampak cukup signifikan terhadap perputaran ekonomi di area proyek. Berdiri di atas lahan seluas 11 hektar, proyek dengan nilai investasi sebesar kurang lebih 6,8 triliun rupiah ini akan mampu menjalankan perputaran ekonomi domestik sebesar kurang lebih 1,4 triliun rupiah. Seiring berjalannya proyek ini, dijalankan pula Corporate Social Responsibility untuk masyarakat di sekitar PLTU Lontar.
Terima kasih PLN, kami pernah mendapatkan bantuan kapal untuk melaut. Hasil melaut kami bagus, tangkapan ikan cukup. Terima kasih PLN, terima kasih Pak Jokowi.
Kami bertani di sekitar PLTU Lontar dan sekarang sedang panen. Terima kasih PLN, terima kasih Pak Jokowi.
Kami selama ini telah mendapatkan pelatihan dan CSR dari PLTU. Terima kasih PLN, terima kasih Pak Jokowi.
Keberadaan pembangkit, gardu induk, dan transmisi kami adalah untuk mendukung kehidupan kita. Ini menjadi salah satu bentuk kerja kami untuk menciptakan Indonesia yang lebih baik.
welcome everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Pak Rudi Hendra Prastowo, Primary Energy Director of PTPLN. Welcome, Pak Rudi.
Thank you.
No problem. Pak Rudi, coal is generally considered to be incompatible with a lower carbon future. PLN's coal power plant assets currently provide more than 60% of the power generating capacity, and coal remains at 55% in 2025, as projected in PLN's 10-year development plan, also called RUPTL 2019 to 2028. So it's quite clear that coal is not going to be removed from the energy mix in the short term. Can you walk us through PLN's coal strategy in terms of coal demand forecasts, power plant development projects, and its role in the Indonesian energy systems of the future?
Okay, thank you, Pak Nick. PLN has the spirit to reduce the energy mix for the coal in the future and increase the portion of gas and renewable energy in accordance with the government commitment to increase the percentage of energy mix for the renewable energy. Our government has committed in Paris Agreement for increasing renewable energy as a multilateral effort to save our planet from global warming. Gradually, energy produced from the coal power plants would be reduced and to be changed to the renewable energy due to environmental concern and the limitation of the fossil resources itself. Since our commitment has been declared in international communities, no more new coal power plants permit are released in Java, Bali. Electricity consumption in Java, Bali are 70% of national. Hence, PLN are focusing on the targets signed by government to increase the capacity of the renewable energy. Even as PLN run the mandate from government to fulfill a 100% electrification ratio, the remaining households with no electricity that mostly are living in remote areas with no access or pathways to reach them have delivered by utilizing local renewable energy such as solar panel or micro hydro power plants. With the scenario as in the RUPTL, where the contribution of coal will remain in around 50% of the energy mix lower than what we have now are nearly 60%, it means that PLN will boost the contribution of renewable energy that is now around 14% as our government has declared in Paris Agreement. Even now, aiming to achieve the target, we already have introduced co-firing program. This program is mixing small percentage of biomass and coal, implemented in our existing coal-fired power plants. Around 5% of total coal supply for 18 gigawatt coal-fired power plants will be replaced by biomass. We run this program since 2017. Our team has visited several plants in some countries such as USA and England, learning about this co-firing concept and implementation. By 2020, 10 power plants have already under testing for co-firing. The result is promising that we will roll this out to other 42 plants we have. This program, of course, should not increase the current cost of electricity production. We also have enriched our strategies with diesel power plants, or PLTD, that can be converted into renewable power plant. For new coal-fired power plants, the criteria have changed to suit the stringent regulation. We will adopt the resource-based scheme. So the new coal power plants will be the mine mode type. By using this way, we optimize the benefit of much lower logistic costs and easier in controlling the environmental issues.
Thank you, Pat. Really interesting.
Yep.
Most of Indonesia's current power assets are subcritical coal-fired power plants, which are considered not friendly to the environment. Emission controls in Indonesia have become more stringent in the last few years and globally seem likely to become more so. So assuming Indonesia follows this trend, what technologies do you see facilitating coal to continue to play a prominent role in the country's energy mix, and what will be PLN's primary focus?
Our concern is making sure the implementation of environmentally friendly power plants. New coal power plants should use the latest new technology, such as supercritical SG and ultra supercritical USG, in order to comply the stringent regulations set by the government. The existing assets of subcritical coal power plants should also comply to the regulation. We have planned in the future that technology will be replaced by the clean coal technology gradually with higher boiler efficiency and using the clean air technology to comply the stringent environmental regulation. As we operate in all regions of the country, we consequently support local government demand asking for utilization of their local resources. This is also a chance for us to reduce primary energy costs, as the primary energy resources is nearby. And as we know, at least 2 out of 5 main islands of Indonesia, that is Sumatra and Kalimantan Islands, have abundance of coal reserve. It is then logical for us to build new coal power plants there. Many more type of power plants will be developed. So we are playing within these two facts that we want and ask to utilize the abundance reserve for power. But we as well must comply with the tight environmental regulation in the future. So the answer is technology. Clean coal technology are to improve the calorific value and efficiency, as well as to reduce sulfur in SOx and CO2 emission. We are now looking some technologies such as coal drying, coal slurry, coal blending, coal gasification, dust, and sulfur absorption. Currently, we consume less than 30% of total Indonesia's coal production. Mostly are exported out of the country for coal power plant supply over there. We also learn on reducing the CO2 and SO2 using technology that increase the thermal efficiency. So we can reduce the amount of fuel consumed and consequently the quantity of pollutant and greenhouse gases emitted. In the latest IPP procurements, we oblige the use clean coal technology such as of supercritical and ultra supercritical. You will see in the video that we implement better technology each time we add more units to the existing coal-fired power plants such as Lontar CFPP or Cilacap CFPP.
Thank you. Yes, again, interesting, and to see how those technologies develop in the future. There's also been a recent trend of global banks and insurance companies declaring their stance to not support coal power plant development. Considering the tighter access to capital and insurance, what is PLN's strategy to maintain these assets and indeed retrofit them as required?
As I mentioned earlier, the subcritical technology have been replaced with the new technology aiming to comply with the regulation. Some of our coal power plants have improved with the new one. Another way we maintain by making sure the coal specification received with low sulfur. Some supplier name the product as environmental coal. So far, PLN always comply with the government regulations related to power plants emissions. All our plants have ranked as those with environmental compliance. As for support from financial institutions, I believe we can still develop new coal power plants with support from the global bank and insurance companies as long as we have planned to consistently follow the environmental regulation. For example, using the clean coal technology and clean air technology. We challenge IPP companies that provide energy to PLN to develop plants and produce electricity with the environmentally friendly and implement the latest technology.
Yeah, thank you. And you did mention that PLN is planning to invest in new coal-fired power plants, and this is supported by RUPTL 2019 to 2028. Are the new coal-fired power plants planned to be invested under PLN's own funding?
According to the RUPTL 2019 to 2028, that coal power plant will only be developed outside of Java and Bali Islands. So for Java Bali electricity system, there will be no new coal-fired plant other than that is now in operation or under construction. For other islands, such as Sumatra and Kalimantan, as my earlier explanation, the approach is using resources-based scheme. If coal going to be used, then it is necessary to reduce the environmental impact, and using the clean coal technology and mine mode power plants, other primary energy resources will be utilized. According to RUPTL, the new coal power plants coming from IPP2, we believe that by using the new coal technology and clean air technology and strong commitment for the environmental, there is still many solutions for the funding.
Thank you. And what is the role of the international community in supporting PLN's coal strategy? I mean, where do you see their support being most valuable?
We are the member of HAPUA, stand for the Head of Asian Power Utilities or authorities. It is recognized electricity organization in Southeast Asia region. We discuss and exchange experiments as well as knowledge to manage the coal power plant with the standard of best practices. We also learn from international communities of practice to implement the asset management and ISO 55000 to make sure we have managed our power plants based on both international standard and best practices. Information on latest technology achievements made in other coal power plants owned by companies in the international community is always valuable and help us in improving our operation and maintenance program. In developing our plan to add more coal power plants that is safe and within global regulation. You know that some of our coal power plants many times receive international acknowledgement being success in achieving the good performance and standard. That is our commitment to the new generation. That we will provide affordable electricity that comply to environmental regulation.
Thank you. And I suppose there are also many domestic and foreign companies investing in the use of coal-fired power plants in industries such as mining, smelting, industries that are highly attractive business areas within Indonesia. Again, these are using subcritical coal-fired power plants as their cogeneration plant or captive power plant in the case of cement, pulp, paper, chemical production, etc. And these coal-fired power plants are also playing their role contributing to increase the CO2 emissions of Indonesia from coal. Are these industries being pressured to reduce the carbon emissions, or is there a plan to provide benefits if these industries or the companies use more renewable energy source for their power plants?
The regulation on emission limitation are for all industries operate in Indonesia. I believe every single owner of the coal power plants you mentioned is carefully learned and do their best to comply with the regulation. They put huge investment, so I believe they will obey to keep their investment remain safe in the long period. However, I think it is beneficial for each party, especially for the country. In the demand for electricity is bundled and let the utility to deliver the electricity. Being the largest power service provider in Indonesia with the most extensive experience, knowledge, and infrastructures, we PLN capable in providing the electricity supply required with the exact quality needed for each different industry. Having a more and more stronger electricity network, we then can build larger capacity of power plant with the best technology focus on environmentally friendly and deliver the electricity to this industry. PLN has the obligation to comply with the regulation for all power plants that supply the electricity to the grid of PLN. We have the grid code to be followed by all power plants in PLN's grid, including environment issues. For the other plants, government also have the same regulation to push them complying with the environmental policies. This way, we can more reduce emission and may not increase the price of electricity because of the capacity scale is bigger.
Thank you, Pat. Really, that's that's very interesting and encouraging to hear those policies being enforced. I believe that is all the time we have for the interview with you. In a few seconds, we are going to be moving across to the webinar forum to hear more from the likes of PLN, MKI, Cerebon Power, Adaro, IHS Market on this topic. We'll also be fielding questions from our audience. But thank you again, Pak Rudy, for your time today. Your thoughts have been extremely insightful. And we look forward to meeting you in Jakarta at Enlit Asia on the 23rd to 25th of March next year. But thank you again, Pak Rudy.
Thank you. It's nice to talk with you, Pak Nick. And then you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
No, absolute pleasure. And thank you again for all your time.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to today's panel discussion. This is Alan Wang from IHS Market. I'm the director for Southeast Asia Power Renewable. First of all, I hope you enjoyed the very insightful interview. And for today's panel discussion, we very happy to invite 4 of our speakers to join us for today. So first of all, I would like to introduce all of them to our audience online. So today we got Pak Halim Ang, the Executive Vice President of PT PLN's Coal Division. And also we have Mr. Osamu Ono, the Managing Director and CEO of Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems Asia Pacific. We have Pak Heru Dawanto, the Coordinator of MKI's Expert Working Group and also the former President Director of Cerebon Power. We also have Pak Adrian Lambong, the Director of PT Adaro Power. So welcome everyone to join the discussion. To open up our today's discussion, I would like to invite all of our speakers, each of you, to share some of your views on, what's the energy transition going to look like in Indonesia. Probably we start from Pak Halim.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, hello. Yeah, can you quickly share with our audience, what's your view on the energy transition in Indonesia?
Yeah. Okay. My name is Harlan. I am from PLN. And then it's a good chance to me to express my opinion according to the good topic today. How can coal-fired generation remain relevant in a changing energy landscape? It's very, very good topic and also challenging topic. Our existing coal power plant in Indonesia now is coal power plant is more than 63% of the power generating capacity. And then according to our ROPTL in 2019, 2080, that's the coal energy will be remain around 54% in 2025. So until now, for the middle of this to 2020, that the capacity of coal power plant in Indonesia is around 50.3%, and then from the 31.8 gigawatt. PLN have the mandate from the government to fulfill 100% of the electrification ratio. Currently, Indonesian electrification ratio is around 99.15%. So we have to try to achieve the 100%. And then now the ratio, we want to get it with also for the affordable energy price and also comply with the regulation. Coal power plant is still in the cheapest power generation, one of the cheapest power generation power plant in Indonesia. So to ensure the affordable electricity price for the people, coal power plant is still required. And then until now, the merit order of the coal power plant is still good position. According to the RPTL 2019 and 2028, that coal power plant will only be developed outside of Java and Bali Island. So for Java, Bali electricity system, there will no new coal-fired power plant other than that is now in operation or under construction. For other islands such as Sumatra, Kalimantan, the approach is using a resources-based scheme. If coal going to use, then it is necessary to reduce the environmental impacts and using the clean coal technology. And also we develop the mine mode power plant for this idea. Mine mode power plant is can reduce primary energy costs and also you can utilize the energy resources is nearby. And as we know, as you know that at least 2 out of 5 main islands, that is Sumatra and Kalimantan Island, have abundance of coal reserve. It is then logical for to build a new coal power plant there. Mine mode power plant is will be developed to be scheme of the near in the process of the energy. Until now, we are very happy that the government support us to make sure that the primary energy for the coal power plant are available by stipulate in the regulation of DMO or we say the domestic market obligations for the coal supplier that at least 25% of the coal production should be supplied to the domestic market. So we currently consume around less than 20% of Indonesian production of coal. Mostly, as you know, that I export it to the other country and for coal power plant to supply for the coal power plant over there. So based on the lower cost that our the power plant, so we think that we still keep the power plant of the coal in Indonesia. PLN is concerned to implement environmental friendly power plant. We have the obligation to follow the regulation of the government, and then also that such as regulation for the emission limitation. So our existing asset now is we have some subcritical boiler, and then must comply to the regulation. Yeah, we have learned in the future that subcritical technology will be replaced with the clean coal technology gradually, with the higher boiler efficiency and using the clean air technology also to comply the stringent environmental control regulation. So to comply with the tight environmental regulation in the future, clean coal technology are required to improve the caloric value and efficiency. So we can reduce the amount of the consumption of the coal. So it means we can reduce also for the quantity of the pollutant and also for greenhouse gas emitted. We are now researching for the new technology. Hello?
Yeah, thanks a lot for this insight. I think we all agree, you know, in the fuel mix roadmap for Indonesia, coal will still play a very important role, as we can see from the latest RUPTL. Another thing is, according to the interview and the PLN's forecast, the renewable is going to have more and more renewable penetration. So the next question I really, maybe the audience also want to understand is, you know, while we have a larger renewable penetration, and on the other hand, we still have quite a bit coal sharing, and also we want to push for clean coal. In terms of the technology side for the coal generators, how can they improve, or what kind of thing we need to address to achieve that? Maybe I can invite Ono-san. Would you mind to share with us some of your view on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan. That's renewable will be really required to realize that's decarbonization. From we are MHPS, Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems, as a manufacturer of those thermal power plant, and we have supplied our equipment more than 15 years to Indonesia, especially PLN family, and also the IPP customers. And we believe we can contribute to something that's a transition from the coal to renewable. But I believe as Mr. Helen explained, that the coal will remain for a while as something the main source to support that's the growth of the economics and sustainable and also the stable life in this region. So still we think the coal will be required during the renewable integration, because the energy security purpose and also the job creation and flexibility to accommodate with the renewable generation fluctuation. So, for example, the coal-fired power plant will have the more better turn-down ratio than the GTCC, unable to installation of the renewables. So we would like to contribute to support such a transition from the coal to the renewables, utilizing the existing coal power plant as well as the new power plant like USC. So we can provide through our technology and equipment to co-living of the coal fire as well as renewables.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for the sharing. Yeah. So my next question is very related to this. Maybe Pak Peru, would you mind to share with us, you know, in the current install capacity and the planning, you know, the new projects, do they have this kind of a technical capability to provide, you know, a very clean technology as well as partner with renewables? And Pak Peru, would you mind to share with us this in terms of the technology side?
Okay, I think Arlan and Osamu-san has explained the necessity for coal to stay in the equation because of a number of reasons. And we understand that stability of the grid will require baseload, and baseload will require coal as the cheapest source of energy until today. In a way, we cannot go against the low economy as long as renewable is not yet as cheap as coal, then coal will stay as one of the primary source of energy for electricity. But however, in the near future, actually, even starting from now, when we talk about coal, then we cannot coming back to the conventional coal-fired power plant. We have to install the newest technology with highest efficiency, and for that reason, we have to enter into the supercritical and ultra supercritical boiler technology. And for this technology, I think, and I understand that a number of projects has been implemented, and I believe we have the chance to develop capabilities among our local engineers, as well as I believe the industry should also follow. But however, I think the challenge for implementing the current energy mix in the RUPTL, which is 50% still based on coal, is not about the planning itself. The challenge more in the implementation, how to deliver, 50% of the 56 gigawatt as planned in the RUPTL. We are talking about 28 gigawatt of coal-fired power plant. We are talking about this new technology of ultra supercritical and supercritical. Then we are talking about if 1 gigawatt costs you 1.5 billion, then we are talking about around, I think around 45 to 50 billion US dollar investment in 10 years time. And if we are coming to debt to equity ratio of 70% or 20 to 75% debt and 25% of equity, then we are talking about like 35 billion US dollar in the next coming 10 years. So the question, where the money come from? What financing can provide such money? I think that's the biggest challenge for Indonesia going forward. As you know that I think financing coal become more and more challenging, whilst financing renewable is much more available, but financing coal is become more and more challenging. I don't know, I think all banks, lenders from OECD countries has refused to finance coal. Lately, only I think China, Japan, and Korea. I don't believe Japan is still supporting coal now. So I think going forward is quite challenging for Indonesia to implement the plan as of the RUPTL. But talking about the ability and capability of the technology, I think since we have applied a number of power plants, then we have the ability to develop capabilities domestically and locally.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think it's happy to see we're still planning to incorporate all these new technologies. And on the other hand, we all know in January, our new minister announced we're going to retire all the old thermal projects or thermal plants over 20 years old. If I'm not wrong, it's over like 60 different power plants in total, or more than 10 gigawatts or 11 gigawatts. So the question is maybe Park Agent, from your local experience and what's the information you collected, what's the execution plan for this kind of retirement? Is there still planning, or some of the projects start to do the the retirement schedule or all these things on the roadmap? What's the progress on these? Do you mind to share a little bit with us? I think Agent, you're on mute. Are you talking?
Oh, I should be okay now. Yeah. So again, I think this would be a question that would be actually best addressed to PLN, because obviously that's their power plants that you are talking about. But generally speaking, I think we will try to encourage a path that is obviously responsible in regards to the supply of power generation, electricity general in the grid. And when I think the one of the biggest questions in this is that when you say changing energy landscape, what does it mean, right? And so I think one of the things that we are currently seeing is the trend that everybody is talking about is that there is a stricter requirement for reducing carbon emission, but that's not the only one. Trying to reduce carbon footprints is one thing, but you have several things that you are seeing in many grids occurring at this moment. There is the introduction of intermittent power. If you look at the grid in Nevada, you look at the grid in Southern California, you can see what is coming towards Indonesia if Indonesia wants to introduce more renewable energy. And so to some degree, this is also something that needs to be addressed by PLN. The lack of financing is obviously a critical issue for newer power plants. Older power plants are already there. And I think one of the most critical aspects that we also need to see is let's say a trend within the grid to actually have less energy. So I think even before COVID, we have seen that the growth of power demand has been much lower than what I initially anticipated 3 or 4 years ago. So if you look at that, then accept this is the fact. So less emissions. So we do co-firing of biomass, more intermittent power. So we have to have a more flexible grid situation. And then the last one being that the growth of demand has been slowing down. And so I think the potential taking out of existing capacity is a very smart move in my view, because it addresses the oversupply of electricity or the anticipated lack of growth of electricity. It also addresses the oldest plants, which has the highest carbon footprint, and it opens these plants up or these locations up to other forms of services and activities to stabilize and absorb what is a new trend going to happen, which is the introduction of intermittent power into this grid. So I think to try an effort or the possibility or the consideration of taking out older coal-fired power plants inside the grid is a great idea. The only thing I think that we need to do is to actually then have a broader consideration in regards what to do there. It doesn't have to be another coal-fired power plant which is more efficient. Maybe it's not necessary to build another coal-fired power plant because we have already enough electricity. We can also build renewable energy plants in these particular locations. It could be a biogasifier, it could be a solar PV plant, but we also need to consider a potential building of grid stabilization purposes, energy storage, grid stabilization, voltage stabilization, phase stabilization. There's a lot of things that can be done to improve the quality of the grid, to allow PLN to harness and adjust to what is a changing energy landscape. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that would be a very nice question to Pak Alan, because we also receive a lot of questions from our audience. Maybe we can zoom into one particular region, which is a very popular region they're talking about is Java Bali. So one of the questions, we can form the question in this way. Let's say we want to retire some of the old capacity on Java Bali, and we know we still have power demand increasing. So for that particular region, what's PLN's strategy to bring in what kind of new capacity to fill the gap and to fit the demand, increasing the power demand for this island? Pak Alan, would you mind to share with us some of the insight or planning for this particular region?
Okay. As you know that according to the government commit within the Paris in the Paris that we have to increase our renewable energy to be 23% in 2025. And then now, according to the demand is going down, going down, and then we have so many projects now. So what we have to do? Normally now, some of our power plants is old power plant. Basically, is will be replaced with the new one. Yeah. For example, some of our power plant is a subcritical power plant will be retired. This is normal, yeah. So we replace with the new one with the new technology. For example, like Suralaya, in the next 4 and 5 years, we have to stop it because according to the old technology. But according to the Pak Lembong, Pak Adrian said that how can as Pak Adrian said that the system for the renewable energy is not sustained, yeah, because this is on off. So we still need for the base load energy to cover all of the renewable energy if you want to put it in the grid. So our policy now, we want to push for the renewable energy to be 23% in 2025. This is our commitment.
I see. And that's another question we did mention before. If we want to bring renewables and also as well as the new technology-based coal projects, where do you think which where the finance will come from? I know it's quite difficult to finance a new project. Will PLN to be the main party to finance all these new projects, or where or which country or which entity you think they can come and help to invest in these new projects?
Yeah, maybe Pak Adrian will help us. Yeah. Okay. Until now, we feel confident that if we comply with the regulations and also we use the clean coal technology, we use the latest technology, I think still some of international funding can help us to solve it. That's why also we compete with the IPP. If IPP want to join with the PLN grid, so IPP we challenge to get the new funding from some. So that's why the IPP or PLN will propose for the which one of the technology with the environmental friendly.
I think one of the things that we can add to that, just from an IPP point of view, we've had a lot of discussions with from again, I'm also part of the Indonesian Private Power Producers Society, just like Heru is. So we're all sort of incestuous in how we manage these organizations. But technically speaking, there is a very large pool of funding that hasn't been tapped into, which is Indonesian funding. So if you look at this, most of the funding when we look at this project is actually US dollar based. But this is something that for PLN has always been a critical issue. The funding out of the in US dollars is very risky for PLN because PLN's revenue is all in rupiah, and this funding in US dollars is therefore a significant liability towards PLN, whether through an IPP or directly. And so I think one of the things we can consider is actually to tap into funding sources within the Indonesian banking system itself. Now, this is actually quite in line with what could be very, very helpful for Pak Harlen, for example, to have a rupiah-based IPP, where the tariffs are all in rupiah. And with the sinking interest rates in Indonesia, this is becoming more and more a possibility. So the other thing is also that if you look at this, in many cases, the companies that can develop these projects will in the future, as Pak Harlen mentioned, be mining operations, because we are focusing a lot of our newer power projects towards mine mouth operations. And so to some degree, this can be supported by one of the larger power corporations or mining organizations in Indonesia. I think I'm very happy to say that Adaro is very much looking forward to working with PLN on a newer concept of power generation as required by PLN, where we are trying to look at this from an Indonesian rupiah financing point of view rather than borrowing it offshore from US dollars. Again, Pak Heru Dewanto is also part of a very large, powerful, well-funded group, Indika, I think Pak Heru would be also quite excited to consider building mine-mouth coal-fired power generation projects based on a rupiah funding and a rupiah tariff towards PLN.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for the sharing. I think that's a good advice. I guess some of the audience will ask some questions around this as well. Yeah, thanks for the sharing. I did look into the question. There's a very technical question. I think it's proposed for Ono-san. I think our audience is asking because the coal quality seems to be decreasing. So they are asking from the boiler design and the technical view, is Mitsubishi Hitachi looking to adjust some of the design, or how you going to address this new challenge?
It's for me?
It's for Ono-san.
Oh, no-san, yeah.
Not okay. Now I release the mute. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we have the variable and very pragmatic solution for this clean coal technology. That is duly relating to the finance also. Recently, Japanese government had committed to continue to support that's a coal, but with that's the clean coal technology. So we have the IGCC technology, and in Japan we are now under the commissioning of that's a newest IGCC power plant in Nakoso, and also the other is a Hirono, which is more than the 500 megawatt. That will be those projects are something replace of the Fukushima nuclear power station after that's a tsunami disaster 2011. So the Japanese government fully supported to finance of this kind of the IGCC project. And also we are now have more than 30 years experience of the hydrogen firing. So the hydrogen will be something the key of the decarbonization. And we have some of the project in Europe, Netherlands, Nuon. That is the gas turbine combined cycle. But our machine will achieve the 100% hydrogen firing 2025. And also the biomass. We have several biomass projects. And in UK, we have the Drex, the power station. That is a 600 megawatt at a 4 unit. That will be 100% biomass firing. So we can also proceeding collaboration with the Institute of Technology, Bandung, for this kind of the biomass firing, and also the IGCC, as well as some of the hydrogen firing. This kind of the renewable clean coal technology. We are proceeding with that collaboration of the ITB. So I believe we can contribute to vast field of this kind of the clean coal technology, as well as it will make possible to get the finance to the Indonesia.
Okay, yeah, that's a great news. Great to know. Yeah, thanks to addressing these. Okay. Gentlemen, I think this is one of the topics we couldn't avoid. It's the COVID-19 impact. I think some of the audience also, asking, and they want to understand, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I understand this impact on both demand side and supply side. From the local point of view, like what you have seen on the network and the grid in Indonesia, what's the impact you would say due to the COVID-19 bring into our power system? Maybe Pat Helen, if you don't mind, maybe you can share with us some of the insights.
According to, sorry, demand?
Yeah, maybe we can start from the demand side, and also the the new project development. I believe they have been delayed, right?
Okay. Yeah, according to the impact of the COVID is now before in in first 3 months in this year, this demand increase around 3%. And then the last 3 months for the April, May, June, this is minus 7%. So we think that the demand until until the end of this year is around minus 6.15%. This is decrease. If we compare this with the demand with 2019, this is below minus 6.15%. This is the impact of the COVID to our power plant. Then the big impact we will of the COVID is for PLN, for the PLN power plant, because as you know that our IPP have the take or pay contract, so we have to follow the contract. This is what is the impact of the COVID. Is answer?
Okay, I have a following up question regarding to this, because I heard PLN may want to renegotiate some of the PPAs due to the COVID-19. Is that happening, or you think it was still under investigation?
Maybe you have a good idea, or maybe you have the.
Yeah. So I think for us, we need to see the effect of COVID. It's affecting everyone. It's not just PLN. It's PLN's operations, construction operations of any other power plant, demand, everything. I think we haven't had any official discussions with PLN, but I think we need to be aware of this to be considered, because this is, I think, something that can be very, very helpful for all parties involved. And so to some degree, I think once PLN has established a more firm view of what the picture now looks like regarding demand, regarding deliverability, regarding even distribution capacity, and the IPPs, especially the ones in construction, have a better view on what the new picture looks like in regarding to capacities, timelines, and so on, then I would think it would be very sensible for all parties to sit together and decide what would be the best way out for the electricity grid. Because I think it is very important to understand that the problems of PLN are the problems of all the IPPs and the other way around. There is such intertwined interest within all parties that it is very important for everyone to have a holistic view and to fully understand all aspects of this, because there is no IPP if PLN goes down the drain. So there is no point of us being, or IPP saying, oh, I'm good, I got a contract, if PLN is in dire straits. And so I think there is an important aspect that needs to be considered within all the parties, all the stakeholders of the electricity sector in Indonesia, to be open-minded and to consider all the options and all the concerns that we are seeing, and hopefully we all can find a good way out that will provide Indonesia with a stronger electricity sector. Thank you.
Very good, Pak. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think, yeah, Pak. I think Pak Adrian is very, very good company, very good people, yeah. So we are very, very careful to discuss negotiate with the IPP, because this is, we appreciate with the IPP have the good investment before, yeah. But as you know that this is not so easy for PLN for this condition. So if Pak Adrian said that open to discussion, thank you, very appreciation for Pak Adrian. So we have tried for the other power plant until now. We can delay, not delay, yeah, for the COD, yeah, we move it for one year or for half year, and this is discussed and have been done, still in doing, Pak, in progress, Pak. So we hope everybody open-minded that we got the problem with not just Indonesia. This is for the global problem, yeah, Pak. So yeah, we have the team. Slowly we'll discuss and we'll meet the IPP to solve the problem. How to do the good solution for everybody, for us, then also for IPP, Pak.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, maybe Pak Heru, I have another question here. Is maybe I'll leave this question. You can ask Helen and what's the view for the new RUPTL, because from us, everyone on the market doing the research and looking to the market, we really wondering when is the new RUPTL will be out, and from your understanding, what's the trend people we need to pay attention on, and likely what's the trend we're going on. I think Pak Heru, can you unmute? Or maybe I can ask Pak Helen.
Okay.
First,
Mention to me that he is on mute, that he can't unmute himself. Can maybe
actually,
Karen,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Apparently the organizer mute me almost the whole time, so I have difficulties to participate in the discussion. Anyhow, maybe I was about to respond to Adrian's comments, but it's past already. Yeah. Now I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to answer Alan's question concerning the new RUPTL. I believe everyone is looking forward to it, but the biggest influence would be the current COVID-19 pandemic, and without a doubt, pandemic has give effects in reducing the power demand, and I think the power demand will take time until it can recover to the pre-crisis level. And the current economic situation also put pressures on the revenues, as well as will increase the credit risk. And in the meantime, the technological disruption will continue, and the strategic reshaping will continue as well. I believe the technology efficiency, such as what we discussed earlier with USC and SC, will take place in more and more coal investment in the coming the coming years, and renewable will continue to gain its portion, because I think even though we are talking about the challenge of financing coal, but in fact, implementing coal is not only about financing. Implementing a coal, you have also to face many other fronts, such as environmentalists, the social fronts, and so forth. And from financing point of view, I believe this is the biggest challenge. And Adrian's idea to have support from domestic financing is not a bad idea, but talking about mine-mouth power plant, I think the biggest challenge with this is the structure, because the mine-mouth power plant consists of two institutions, right? Two entities, the power itself and the mining itself. If it comes with one single entity, it will be easier to get financing from the lenders and so forth. So structurally, it need to be improved when it comes to man-mouth. But coming back to pandemic, I think that's the current situation. I believe the operating models also changed because of people working more from home and remote working, so need flexibility. And all these changes with coming with the pandemic will also influence the RUPTL, I believe. I think globally we're talking about 20% decrease in investment in globally, decrease in investment in power sectors, and it may be well reflected in the coming RUPTL. But I think the commitment for Indonesia to provide 23% of renewable has to be well reflected in the RUPTL, because that's the commitment. But again, the challenge is not really, making the planning, but to implement the RUPTL. And I think, speaking from the history, implementing the RUPTL is never been an easy job. I think that's the biggest challenge for all us, how to implement the plan.
Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot. Ono-san, I see you're online. You can talk. Your audio is not muted. So I would like to hear from you. Do you have any? Yeah, Ono-san, do you have any comment on this Indonesia's new strategy? And I know you have experience in Japan market and other markets as well. So what do you think in terms of the planning and ongoing for the energy transition? As a closing statement, would you like to share with us?
Oh yes, thank you. So Indonesia is a very important country. As I mentioned, we have the very long relationship, and we have contributed that's the development in Indonesia. But also we are facing some the COVID and also the decarbonization. As I explained, we have the various technology to contribute, to support, to contribute. That's Indonesia. So we'd like to realize decarbonization society through our various technology as well as a renewable. Also, we have provided some geothermal power station in Indonesia. Also, we can enhance and also to support to achieve that's a roadmap, providing that's a clean coal technology as well as our renewable technology. So today so fruitful and precious opportunity to hear the very, very precious opinion and to understand all our very precious customers, that's a strategy and also the direction to achieve that's a roadmap. So I sincerely express my thanks, and also I assure you we will continuously to provide our vast clean coal technology to contribute to the Indonesian society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ono-san. Now let's invite Pak Helen. Would you mind to spend like 1 minute, give us a quick wrap up for today's discussion?
Yeah, for the statement of Pak Ono, I think a good statement. Yeah, and then if the clean coal technologies can be supported by Japan, I think for the Pak Heru said that we have also clean coal technology for the SC and USC. Maybe Japan also can support for the funding.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and before we finish, Pak Seru, do you want to give us like a closing, statement from your end? Anything you want to add?
I think this pandemic give us a time to reflect, sort of a pause to rethink and to plan again, and really how to implement the planning. I think the trend would be, first of all, that the demand will drop and it will take some time until it will come back again. But I think the shifting from, I think there are two shifting that going forward from the perspective of fossil fuel. The shifting is towards energy efficiency. And I think this is something that unstoppable, because only with such efficiency technology, then development of future coal power plant can make a little bit sense. And from renewable point of view, I think this is also something that unstoppable. The world is moving towards renewable energy and clean energy, and for that reason, I think Indonesia need to cope with this situation. Even though we all know that we need, as developing countries, to balance between development as well as sustainability needs. I think that's I would like to say for the closing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a park agent still online. Would you like to quickly wrap up for today's discussion and share with us a little bit more?
Yeah, I think, again, this is supposed to be a wrap up. I think a key critical message that we need to take into consideration, certainly what the future picture will look like, what is going to be the landscape in the future. But I believe that around this table we have the willingness, the capability, as well as also the adaptability to allow Indonesia to transition into a power, into an energy sector that will be able to adjust properly to the future picture of this. I think between Pak Heru Dewanto, who's been with Indica and is representing MKI, Ono-san, who will be supporting most of these requirements through technology developments out of Japan, and ourselves, Adaro, we are a coal mining company, but we are seeing like a transition like this to be inevitable, and so we want to be part of that also. And hopefully we all can work together and make sure that the transition towards a newer landscape is going to be stable, it's going to be strong, and as such, I believe that coal will have a stabilizing role, but also a tool to adjust towards a energy picture and mix that will be increasingly supported by renewable energies and intermittent energies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to say thank you to our speakers again, and also the online audience with us today. And also many thanks to PLN for hosting this session. Please don't forget that Enlit Asia takes place as a live event from the 23 to 25 March next year, 2021 in Jakarta. Please visit our website to find out more information. Recording of today's webinar will be available on demand on Enlit Asia's website. The next session from Indonesia is going to be, the topic will be PLN's digital future, which will be 12th of August next month. The registration is now open on the website. Please come back and join us again next time. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pak Lembong.
Thank you everyone.
Pak Heru.
Salam hormat. Pak Adrian.
Pak Heru.
Ya, Pak.
Samusan.
Thank you.